Aloha and welcome to the Women Unleashed online retreat. My name is Amber Kuileimailani, Bonnici, your retreat host. And today we are tapping into some wisdom. We're tapping into some of our witchy wisdom. And I have a beautiful beloved guide with me today, Jetaime. Aloha, Jetaime.
Aloha, Amber. It is so wonderful to be here with you, my dearest sister. Such a pleasure and an honor. Thank you. Thank you.
I know. I cannot wait for us to dive in. It's going to be great. I've got all my pens, I've got all my things ready to soak in all the knowledge. But before we do that, let's take a few breaths so we can get really present. So you're really able to receive what you're really meant to receive today. So I invite you with me just to close your eyes, and any lingering energy or things that have been happening from earlier. Just inhale in, exhale, release. Anything coming up in the future. It's pulling you ahead of this moment. Inhaling in, exhale, release. And our third and final breath, smelling this moment together. Nowhere else to be, nothing else to do, but right here, right now. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes. And I can introduce you more formally to our retreat guide today, Jetaime Cheree. She is an Oracle, Akashic Tarot reader, practitioner of sacred temple arts, ancient civilization researcher, spiritual entrepreneur, green witch, and sound shamana on the priestess path of remembering and reclaiming the sacred voice of the goddess within. She owns, how do you say the name of your place? I didn't ask you. Is it Sage
Sanctuary? Sage. Just spelled with a J because I like to be different.
Sage Sanctuary with a J. Metaphysical musings for the modern witch, an herbal apothecary, crystal shop, esoteric temple, offering tarot, Akashic readings, dream interpretation, astrology readings, all the things. I'm gonna get to this in a second, but I'm like, I want a sage. We need to have a sage sanctuary where I live. I'm like this. I have a I want one where I'm at. But
most beautiful part of it too.
Right?
Yeah.
We need one over here in Hawaii.
Here
too. Right? So Jetaime, she really went on a journey of remembering, reclaiming her soul gifts, and traveled all over the world to Egypt, Thailand, Scotland, Ireland, France, Hawaii, Sedona, Guatemala, and other mystical locations, really learning from indigenous mentors and elders in all areas. And her mission is really one of empowerment and helping people to remember our royal origin, linking us with sovereign and divine. And here's Jetaime and I, we actually met, we were in a similar priestess group together. This is how we originally met. We traveled to Egypt together. I have pictures of her on the back of a camel, as well as in sacred holy sites as well. But she's a dear sister, and I just cannot wait for it to bring and share her gifts with you. Welcome, Jetaime.
Thank you. That was the most epic invitation and welcome ever. Mahalo, Amber. Thank you so much. Such a blessing to be here with all of you to share these channelings and this knowledge that corroborates with the research that I do for ancient civilizations. And this is what we're here to do, no? To be in our mission, be in our journey, to disseminate our soul song and to sing it loudly, boldly, brightly to everyone that will listen, that has the eyes to see and the ears to hear. So thank you.
Yeah, when I thought of I don't even know, you popped in my head, I think is how at first I was like, oh, Jetaime, we had some really beautiful conversations when you're in Egypt together. And but you have this really unique way of research with spirit, and this way of interweaving things. And so I'm really excited to see where we dive and where we go today, and what you've gathered to share with us. So
thank you.
Take it away, sister.
So the majority of what I do is coupled with channelings through the Akashic records, through mediumship and through really sinking into my own spiritual, meditative, oracular vision. And being that I'm also very left brain and love the intellect coupled with my intuition, I will often go and follow up with the information and research and find the nooks and crannies of how everything correlates together. And so often everything has this almost bullet pointed sectioning and understanding and revealing to it that really fits into everything that comes in for me in mediumship and everything that I am able to research from ancient civilizations and across the board on the priestess path. And so, yeah, it just really fits together, the most beautiful puzzle piece. And I would love to share with you today my presentation entitled The Watchers and the Witches. And this is through the lensing of the tarot and the Akashic records. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. The Watchers and the Witches through the lens of the tarot and the Akashic records. We live in an extraordinary times at a mythic edge where an old story meets a new one. Come back again to remember the old ways, the ancient ways, by listening only to the voice that is soundless. Look only on that which is invisible, and remember that in thee thyself is the temple and the gate, the mystery and the initiation. In religion, folklore, and myth, there is a tale of 200 of the fallen angels that descended from the heavenly realm onto the summit of Mount Hermon. And they were so smitten by the beauty of the human women that they lay with them and taketh them as wives. The fallen angels taught their wives a variety of new magical knowledge, occult wisdom, and technological skills. According to the Bible, the consequence of this cosmic copulation between the fallen ones and the mortals led to the creation of half angelic, half human offspring. These children were called the Nephilim, and they were once the hybrid race that inhabited the old earth. These 200 angels were known as the Watchers, the Lords of the Flame, the Shining Ones, and they were led by an archangel named Azazel. The sons of God revealed to their wives and the women of the earth the secrets of the heavens, such as the arts of alchemy, herbalism, astrology, astronomy, geology, metallurgy, dreams, divination, spellbinding, the releasing of spells, the cutting of roots, magic, sorcery, sophistry, the interpretation of omens, of the weather, the sun, the moon, the seasons, along with communication of the elements and with the animals. All of this suggests that psychic abilities, magical powers, oracular visioning, speaking the language of the stars, the planets, the elements, and nature, was originally an ancient inheritance from the angelic realm, given to women in the form of witch blood, elven blood, or fairy blood. It's a lineage originating from a cosmic source and subsequently is possessed by the daughters of men, which we know as the witches. Now Azazel and the sons of God revealed to evolving humans how to harmonize with the earth and use its abundant resources for spiritual evolution. They taught each other that all was vibration and how different frequencies influence each other. They revealed how certain crystals and herbs affected the human energy system and how these tools can alter consciousness, effectively becoming the first psychonauts. They also taught how to harmonize with the astrological energies arriving from other planets and star systems. In this way, Azazel and his entourage of angels taught how to change and adapt one's energy field to harmonize with the environment and to exceed one's current level of consciousness. And simply, in a word, or a couple words, they taught the secrets of ascension. The fall of the angels can be seen as an ascending gift of accelerated evolution to better understand our divine heritage through integration, embodiment, and experience. In the story of the Watchers, women were the mediators between humans and the divine. And this cohabitation of the sons of God with the daughters of men highlights the importance of women as the link between heaven and humanity. This angelic interaction with women vivifies an era of witches, priestesses, midwives, herbalists, oracles, and spiritualists, encompassing the ability of initiation, the power to turn men to gods, as the goddess births the supernatural demigod into a new age. And that age is the age of Aquarius, where we are right now, the age of the divine feminine, the age of resurrection of the goddess and the teachings from the celestial realms. It is the time when the holy hibernation has come to an end and the witches return to wholeness. There's a consistent theme, whether it's indigenous shamanism, new age spirituality, or medieval occultism, that the path to godhood must come through a radical transformation of humanity through our DNA, our consciousness, and the spiraling serpents of our life force, known as the Kundalini, must be resurrected, revived, reignited as the cosmic flame, the cosmic wisdom that is found in the tree of knowledge, which really is an allegorical allusion to our spinal cord, our chakras, and our energy bodies. Now, if we go back to the myths that precede the fallen angels, we enter into a symbolic world of serpents and fire, initiation, darkness, depths, and the eventual evolutionary ascent back to the throne of light. In so much of our ancient past, we see the signs and the symbols of the same story weaved into different cultures, civilizations, and timelines. The Garden of Eden, the serpent, the tree of knowledge, Adam and Eve, the story of Inanna's descent, where the goddess embarks on a vision quest through 7 sacred gateways. The story of Hades and Persephone, the beloved daughter of the gods who is taken into the underworld for half of the year and is resurrected after her time in the depths. The story of the Minotaur and the labyrinth trials, where man is assisted by the fair princess, or priestess, as I like to think of it. And he's assisted by the priestess who guides him through the darkness into safety with her golden threads. We have the story of Prometheus, who gives the light of humanity. And so in all of these stories, there's a common thread. We have in Aradia, the Gospel of the Witches, which is an Italian manuscript from 1899 that says, Diana, she fell to the earth, just as Azazel had, who is the archangel of the Watchers, and they taught mankind witchcraft and the enlightenment of the feminine. There are Middle Eastern myths which recount Venus's origin as a flaming meteorite arriving from heaven and falling into the Mediterranean Sea. Now, the planet Venus is known as the morning star. She leaves a fiery tail in her wake, which gives the appearance of a starry flaming serpent in the sky. For this reason, amongst many others, the ancients worshipped Venus as a fiery celestial dragon. Now, this was known as the Shining Ones, the Lords of Flame, and the Morning Star, which are all the same names given to the Watchers, the 200 fallen angels. There is such a huge theme here between the feminine being covered, the fallen angels and what their actual duty was when they came to earth, and then all of the intricate entanglements of their names and their creation stories and the myths that really lead down to one fractaled seed, which we'll get to. But all of this really creates a dialogue. And when the Bible actually speaks of the great red dragon or the fiery serpent, they are speaking of the descent of the divine feminine, the cosmic fire of Kundalini being brought to the earth to manifest in the souls of humans through the teaching wisdom gifted to the women, gifted to the witches. There are so many ideologies centered around a descent into darkness, only to persevere through the trials of evolution to regain consciousness into a higher vibratory state that enables the birthing of a new age. This birthing of a new age holds the capacity for a higher level of divinity, of soul recollection and direct communication with God, Goddess herself. Now, all of this information is encoded into the symbolic references, images, color theory, numerology, astrology, mythology, and hidden occult knowledge of the esoterica. And now we're going to get into some of that esoteric knowledge. In alchemy, 0 is the soul. It's the soul that takes on the challenge of the alchemical journey, represented by the others and by the other alchemical ingredients or prima materia. It's also that 0 in the tarot is the Fool. And now the Fool is the most esoteric of all of the major and the minor arcana of the tarot. Every card in the tarot deck is an aspect of the 0 card. And therefore, being that there are 78 cards in a traditional tarot deck, there are 78 different aspects of your psyche and consciousness that flow through the 0 card. Now, the Fool is the beginning and it is the end. It is the scintillating intelligence known as Ein Sof, which is light without limit, which can be seen as darkness to some of us who need a beginning and an end to comprehend. And there's a really interesting quote that has always stuck with me. And it's, darkness is light so pure that it cannot be perceived. And when we look at darkness in this way, it really gives us a new perspective on how to understand some of the allegorical myths and stories and revelations that have been presented to us throughout our lives. Now, the Fool represents the initial potential for thought, which transcends reason. It is the divine creative dreaming that is darkness dreaming itself as light. This is the allegory of the angels dreaming of the daughters of men as their consorts and mothers of their angelic lineage. In Kabbalistic lensing of the tarot, 0 is the Fool card as the womb, the conception of the image of God and Goddess face to face. This conjugal meeting must be approached with a certain understanding of whimsy and space, as we realize that by crossing the abyss, by going into the descent, we are approaching the above and the below. And this means a total annihilation of self as we perceive it. Hence, the angels make an agreement in this verse from the apocryphal book of Enoch that simplifies and sometimes complicates the energy of 0. They said, "Let us all swear an oath and bind everyone among us by a vow not to abandon this suggestion, but to do the deed." Then they all swore together and bound one another by this vow. And there were altogether 200 angels descending to earth unto the daughters of man. And this is from the book of Enoch. This really relays into the symbolism of the Ouroboros, into the symbolism of the 0, into the symbolism of the Fool, into the symbolism of alchemy, into the symbolism of the womb. The Ouroboros tale, which is heaven or eternity, that's the symbolism that it encapsulates, is contained and manifested upon the earth as transcendence and completion. It is also known as the alchemist's ring, and it is the ancient symbol that implies when heaven meets earth. So if we really go back and do a little bit of a recap with the fiery serpents and the dragons and the snakes and all of these things that we see in mythology, this is the fractaled origin of it, when heaven meets earth. When we speak about the dragons in the Bible and even the serpent that's in the Garden of Eden, it's when heaven meets earth. If you can remember that, it's really going to change your perspective and how you are reading in between the lines of what is not said in a lot of these ancient writings, stories, and tales. The Ouroboros is the unending, infinite vow of evolution and ascension through the fall. It is the 0 point of continuity. Now, we've spoken a little bit about tarot, and I want to get into it a little bit more in depth. And so what is the tarot? It's really popular right now. Every time I go on my Instagram, there's something new about tarot, some new class. And for me, tarot is the universal language of the gods and of initiates of sacred knowledge. It is a mirror of the self and it is a part of the legacy of mystical esoteric teachings from the ancient mystery schools. Tarot is a divination tool in its simplest form, and it assists those that embark on this initiatory journey of enlightenment to detect and communicate the language of the universe in their everyday lives, among nature, or even in your dreams. In order to receive guidance, we must learn the language. Now, symbolism is the alphabet of hidden knowledge. The tarot was considered by the church to be the devil's picture book, which I love. These cards in their various forms were quickly condemned by the Catholic Church as heretical, and just to possess them was a dangerous act. Now, when you say to yourself, it's just pictures, it's just a card game, why would this be such a threat to a whole empire of religion? There's so much more here that's not being said. And so if you have eyes to see and ears to hear. Now, as we get into this, we're going to go into the first 6 cards of the tarot. And these first 6 cards are near and dear to my heart, and I feel like they really set the stage for the entire soul's journey. Now, we've already talked about the Fool as the number 0. We have the Magician as the first card. And so the Magician is the penetrative aspect of as above, so below. Those who dare to be worthy to enter into the temple and start to connect with sacred teachings, utilizing the ancient and ancestral remembrance, the alchemy of the elements, the directions, the stars, and the ancestors. The Magician is the immersion into and through the lineage, before and those that are destined to come after. The root of magi is symbolic of the female magus or magician, and speaks to the mysteries of the goddess and specifically priestesses. The magician is capable of manifesting destiny through sheer inspiration, determination, and intention and willpower. The magician's implements are the 4 elements of alchemy: fire, earth, water, and air. And as a master of the 4 elements, the magician represents the prima materia, the raw material that would be transformed into the philosopher's stone. Now, through the alchemist, aka the magician, what is hidden will be brought to light. And this is the allegory of the angels bringing the secret knowledge of heaven to earth to the women. As we move into the next card in the tarot, it's the High Priestess. Now, my favorite card of the deck, and I'm sure many other priestesses as well. The High Priestess symbolizes the subconscious mind, the divine feminine, spiritual knowledge, and wisdom. She has an intuitive understanding of the universe and knows how to access inner realms. The High Priestess sits in front of the curtain or the veil of awareness. This represents the separation between the consciousness and the unconsciousness that only the initiated may enter. The scroll that sits in her hands, in her lap, is inscribed with the word Torah. Torah means the secret law, and it is partly covered by her dress to indicate that some things cannot be said. They must be felt or implied, or in a sense, gnostically known. The scroll represents records of the past and the memory of hidden doctrines, symbolic of the secrets taught to the women by the angels. The High Priestess is the balancing power between duality of darkness and the light. Now, she's represented as sitting between these 2 pillars. Now, these 2 pillars are seen as the pillars of Solomon's temple. And this denotes the initiation rite of passage. The pillars signify the summer and the winter solstices and are symbolically decorated with 200 rows of pomegranates. Now, pomegranates play a really interesting role in a lot of our myths, going all the way back to the Garden of Eden. Pomegranates in this lensing represent rebirth and resurrection. They're also used in today's modern world as the 3rd degree raising ceremony of the Freemasons. It is also said that pomegranates were the original forbidden fruit of knowledge that were in the Garden of Eden, that it wasn't an apple, that it was actually a pomegranate. Pomegranates also play a very prominent role in the myth of Persephone as well. She ate pomegranates when she went to the underworld and was unable to come back. And so this is a very symbolic reference to what is going on here, being in the underworld, being in the descent in order to ascend. Now, there's 200 pomegranates that are based in this card. There are 200 of the watchers, the fallen angels that came to earth. And so all of this is speaking to an evolutionary ascension cycle. As we move on, we speak on the Empress. The Empress is a seated royal figure. She's known as the Great Mother, representing the beginning of all life. The Empress is the power of nature as a daughter of heaven and earth. She is the bearer of the fruit of cosmic lineage. She wears a crown with 12 stars, which reminds us of the celestial space and the gestation period required for reproduction, renewal, and the creation of major plans. The Empress is in a garden, and we see the motif of the pomegranates again on her patterned dress, which is a prominent feature of this card, and it represents fertility. The Empress is wife and pregnant mother of the light of wisdom. She is the angelic seeding of the light bearer in both its physical and mystical sense. And so the angel is carried in her womb. As we move into the Emperor, which is the fourth card, the Emperor is the leader that illuminates our minds with information, ideas, epiphanies, and insights. He is the energy of the actionable teachings of the fallen angels. He's the masculine principles of the king, the protector, the warrior, the structured, stable influence that holds our cosmic swirling energy to this gravitational field. He is the anchor to this age, to this era, to this dimension. The penetrative masculine rooting and rising of the planted seed that he planted within the Empress, within the womb of the holy vessel. Now, the Emperor is also associated with the first sign of the zodiac, which is Aries. Now, Aries is the infant of the zodiac because he's the first. And like an infant, he's filled with enthusiasm, energy, and aggression. He's direct and all too often very irresistible, just like the beauty of the angels, and also just like the beauty of the daughters of man who beguiled the angels. The Emperor signifies the leader that everyone wants to follow, sitting on a throne that indicates a solid foundation of an empire that he created, that he loves, and that he rules with intelligence, enthusiasm, and he leaves a lineage of legacy to follow. Now, as we move into this card of the Hierophant was known as the scribe of the gods. And as such, he was the recorder of all human and heavenly deeds. The Hierophant takes the lead in the redemption of original light. He gathers trapped sacred energy and brings it back to the folds of the divine. The Hierophant is the sword of truth and light. And he came to earth as an emissary personified through divine alchemical energies of the angels and of the daughters of man. The Hierophant is symbolic of the master architect, of the original temple and template brought to earth for the evolution and the ascension of humanity. And lastly, we have the lovers. The lovers. They hold the prayer of the universe. They are the holy of the holies and the bridal chamber of God and Goddess. The lovers are the amalgamation of the lower and the higher vibrational qualities of the spiritual journey. They are the quest and the initiation of ascension that represents the king and queen of alchemical symbolism. This alchemy, this joining of celestial and earthly energies, provided a sexual and a reproductive link between man and God. The angels taught the forbidden knowledge of sexual tantra and sex magic. Bet you didn't know that, which was passed down and became the foundation stones of many matriarchal traditions and cultures, such as the Venusian cults, the mystery schools of Isis, Hathor, Aphrodite, Demeter, Persephone, Diana, and many more. This link of sexual seductiveness with sorcery has been part of the fall of the feminine. And what I'm so glad to report that we all know, that we're all feeling, that we're all going through, that this is the time when our seductive sorcery is being resurrected and reignited in this current age. The Watchers intentionally left their sphere of existence in the heavenly realms in order to enter Earth's three-dimensional reality and kindle a cosmic relationship with women. They viewed women as part of the alchemical marriage for accomplishing the task of creating progenitors of angels and godlike entities on earth. The daughters of man, the women, the priestesses, the witches, the healers, the herbalists, the oracles. They, or rather we, are the official messengers of God, Goddess. The wives of the fallen angels were all elevated to a high position on the earth with their husbands because of the secret knowledge that they carried within them. They were called the sirens, and in present day English, this is known as the sirens, meaning lady, princess, queen, and noble woman. These are the wives of the angels. This is the energy of the feminine, of the divine womb that we all carry within us. Now, as members of a highly advanced race, it's obvious from the teaching abilities of the Watchers that they were cultural exemplars and the bringers of civilization to the early human race through the wombs of the witches. This is what the Watchers were gifting us. They descended as the fallen angels who had to adjust their energetic vibration in order to be in physicality with our earth in this dimension. They were able to teach us ascension through their descension. Now, the descent of the Watchers is that story of death, of reincarnation, of rebirth. It is the fall that is absolutely necessary for energetic and physical evolution into a higher dimension. Through the acts of initiation and integration between powerful forces, the angels fell to earth, but they didn't lose their memory. They didn't lose their heart. They didn't lose their love. They chose to share their knowledge with their newfound partners of women and to share their blood of divinity, carrying on the lineage, the legacy, and the royal ancient bloodlines of the Watchers and the witches. And so this age of Aquarius, it is the return of the Magi, the Magic, the Magdalens, and the Messiah. We are the mages of medicine. We are the healing heroines. We are the wild witches. We are the holy harlots. The time is here and now. And we are the ones that we have been waiting for.
I'm like, shoo, 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 shoo. Oh my gosh, so good. Normally we say, okay, come share something. I'm like, I don't even like sisters, like with in the Facebook group, here's this invitation, really, this place of like, we are the ones you've been waiting for. Right. Like, and this is thank you, Jetaime, for really offering a different perspective, right? Like there's lots of stories that we've been told. And so like this is just a really different story to come in and looking at like all the threads and how they weave together. And here's to whatever story that you're telling, to like tap in to remember that we're the ones you've been waiting for.
Yeah. And the many layers and levels of truth, right? So much has been coming up with me around the descent and how the descent, like it's, whatever comes down has to go back up and whatever goes back up has to come down. It's this oscillation of as above, so below. And these words are, kind of a mantra of this era, this epoch that we're living in right now. And I really wanted to understand what that meant to me personally and to share my story, because I feel like even if you don't align with the entire dialogue here, there's going to be certain pieces that will be like, ooh, that triggered or activated an ancient genetic memory that lives within my blood, that lives within my ancestry, that is coming home to root and rise within me now, so that I can create my own level and layer of truth around this. And so that's my mission. It's really to, rustle that bag of genetic memories and see what we can pick out of it.
I see you like tossing seeds in, but it's like consequently like I'll
Yes.
good and like sprouts, sprouts, sprouts.
Absolutely.
Oh my gosh. So this is like just like the very like tip of like you do so much work. And this was just thank you for offering a different perspective here, just to kind of, I think so many times we're offered information through reading books or whatever, but what you're doing is you just give a transmission, right? And so it's like whatever someone's picking up or not picking up, right? So for those of you that are like, they're picking up the transmission, I know that you have something for people to continue connecting with you and the work that you do. You want to share a little bit more what you have?
Absolutely. So I offer what I call Akashic tarot readings. I am a clairvoyant and a clairaudient, and for those of you that don't know, that means I see things and I hear things when in the astral realm or between the veils. And so I offer Akashic tarot readings, which means that I bring mediumship capabilities into my tarot readings. I teach tarot as well, and I have a certification program that I will be launching at the end of the summer. And the way that I teach tarot is very different. I take it back to the ancients. I'm not about reading the book that comes with the tarot deck. I mean, sometimes there's really beautiful information there as well, but it's deeper than that, at least for me. And it goes into the very nucleus, the very nectar of what we are created from. This is where this information comes from. It is an energetic ley line that runs throughout every single consciousness on this earth that we absolutely have the ability to tap into. And so those are the capabilities that I utilize in Akashic readings, in my mentorship, in my tarot certification, and in my Akashic tarot sessions as well. I also have a sound transmission on my website that I would love to gift anyone who is watching this and here with us right now, feeling the energy and tapping into this transmission. And you can find that on my website, jetaimecheree.com. That's JetaimeCheree.com. This is my real name. My family is French. Cheree Serge. I know, I get it all the time. And yeah, I'm just really here for it all. I'm here for the unfolding, for the revealing, for the planting of the flag and what is your truth. And our truths don't necessarily need to match up, but we can have a vibrational resonance between us that allows us to understand and come into communion with a collective truth, a collective consciousness, a collective coherence of our heart together.
More heart. I'm all for more heart. Yeah. The link is right here below. So you just click right there for the link. You can head over, get Jetaime's beautiful sound transmission. Thank you for that. And then once you're over there, then you can find out more information about, her readings and the work that she does. But thank you for bringing your magicalness to us, Jetaime.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for holding this magical coven across the world so that we can all connect in such a way that just makes my heart soar. I love you.
I love you too, sister. On that note, beautifuls, may you continue remembering in a way that wakes you up, that connects you to truth, that opens you more and more to love. And we will see you at our next session.